All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr., and in front of me is my best friend in the world, Calvin McGowan. Calvin, go ahead and let the people hear your voice.
Welcome everybody. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here. I am Calvin McGowan, resident Nets hater. So yeah,
Wow, that's how we start off. Look,
I have accepted it at this point.
I put on the smooth, silky voice for you, and you want to start off with Nets hate immediately. Like I don't know how we can have this
It's,
relationship.
I mean, we had most of this discussion right before we decided to just roll it. So, but everybody, I have accepted at this point that I'm mostly just on the Nets hate bandwagon, and that is okay.
You're gonna
Um,
be sick when we win that title this year.
I mean, I'd also probably be sick if I saw a pig flying, but like, I haven't seen one of those yet either.
You'll see one in come June. Don't worry about it.
Well, you've been wrong before. It's okay. I,
Undefeated. Look at my record. We can go back to every podcast. Everything I've ever said has come true, at least in my
you
dreams.
don't even believe that.
I don't. But you
um,
say the right thing, manifestation, all that good stuff.
but all right, everybody. So the original plan was we have been fortunate enough to get some review copies of a book that we will be reviewing. We uh, for various reasons, we will not be able to begin reviewing it now.
Philip, I'm
Uh,
not placing blame or anything. Just saying people who aren't
I
here.
mean, it also kind of sounds like I'm the only one who read all of what we needed to read.
That's besides the point. Philip is not here to protect himself, so we already have a scapegoat. Come on, man. Come on.
Um, but um, ideally, we will be getting into that next week. In the meantime, um, because of the fact that for various reasons we have not watched as much basketball as we would like to, we will be talking about the upcoming NBA draft. Um,
Guys, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Calvin is not good at lying or getting himself out of trouble. There's no reason to snitch on yourself before any of this starts, my friend.
Wait, are we talking about the Nets hate?
We're talking about specifically
The
uh
draft.
and how much basketball you watched. It's a podcast,
It
big homie. They don't know.
fair. I just don't feel compelled to lie to people.
Look, my mama not gonna know the difference between if you lie to her or not, especially when we talk about basketball. Hi, mommy, I love you.
Like, um, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
maybe so. I just don't feel compelled. Regardless, like we know enough about these players to talk about them on some level. Also, it kind of looks like Jarris Walker's stock is going up, and I'm here for that.
see, you get it. I'm another person. I expected Jarris Walker to be much higher than where he is on most people's draft boards. To be completely honest with you, you're talking about a person who, when they scouted the 2022 class, from the time they were freshmen in high school to the time they graduated, I was extremely high on this class. This is one of my favorite classes that I've ever got to scout in my entire time doing this, and I've taken it more serious over the last 5 years, but I've really been doing this since about 2015, just analyzing where players are going to go, how they play, how they fit into NBA systems. But this 2022 class was supposed to be so much better than what it has been so far. Um, I think I got lost in a lot of the tools or what guys could do just simply because they're bigger, stronger, faster than most high school kids. And let's go ahead. I just pulled up the NBC Sports uh, draft list. We're only going to probably do the lottery picks, maybe top 10. We'll see. I'm kind of lazy. But the first guy up for NBC Sports, going to the Detroit Pistons, is Victor Wembanyama. And I'll be real with you, I don't think we need to talk about this guy much. 7'4" and does all the unicorn stuff that used to get us all jazzed up about big players.
Yeah. Granted, we've already documented I'm not as high on him as some other people. Like, I don't think he's bad, like, at all. But I don't know. Like, you see the hype, and then, like, you see him for me, like, I see the hype and I see him in action, and, like, it doesn't quite line up. Like, on some level, like, the thing is, he can go, right? I'm not denying that he can go. I don't know.
Son is shooting floaters from the 3-point line. I don't know what the end game is with this dude, but at the bare minimum, I feel like he is going to change what we think centers can do for a long time. Like, this is the type of prospect that when they pop up for the next 10 or so years, that's all draft people and scouts are going to be looking for and asking for like the next 10 years, which I don't fully get. Like, when you see a one-on-one player, maybe you should go look for another one-on-one player instead of hoping for another dude like this to happen. I honestly think it's going to take a minute for him to figure out the NBA game. I get that he's dominating in France and has had EuroLeague competition. He ain't seen nothing like the NBA. And I get if you want to be like, oh, he gave the G League Ignite buckets. He gave high schoolers and dudes who have to take mentor roles in the league buckets. He's not gonna go up against that every single night with the NBA. It's gonna be interesting, but all the tools 7
But also, he's not playing that level, that top, like, European level of competition this year either.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I think it's going to take him a minute to get accustomed to it. Like, this big boy basketball over here. Like, I get he has a significant height advantage on Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon gonna get in that boy chest in that shooting pocket that he got. That's he already got a dribble up here, bro. Like, it's gonna be kind of hard for people not to be able to kind of gauge where he shoots.
It'll be fun watching him play, but to start his career, he's going to be on the wrong end of a lot of posters. I already know.
I hope Anthony Edwards and all them dudes are making like a short list and be like, I see you.
Right?
November 14th. That's dunk day. So number 2, Houston Rockets are taking Scoot Henderson. I'm going to be real with you. I have not watched enough G League Ignite basketball to say whatever about Scoot. But for you as a junior, and I mean a dude who was young for his class junior-wise, to look around at the 2022 class and be like, oh, I'm good enough to compete with these dudes. And instead of going to college, I'm going to go over here and play with the grown men. True upside. I'm hearing a lot of John Wall or Russell Westbrook comparisons. I think at this stage in the game, Scoot is a much better passer, playmaker than both of those guys. Like, Westbrook had to learn how to do that. John Wall always kind of had it, but John Wall's scoring was a bigger factor than his passing. That took him a minute to become like a 17-10 type guy. That being said, I'm always in for a really athletic point guard who's about like 6'3", 6'4". Like, that's, if you told me to build a point guard in the lab, is looking like Scoot Henderson.
So I haven't watched enough of his stuff either to really say, but when I was fortunate enough to watch that game between the Ignite and the team Wembanyama is currently on, So, like, granted, I recognize that if you had the number one draft pick at this point, you have no choice but to select Wembanyama. Like, if you're a GM, because not doing it and like he becomes what people assume he'll be, which, to be fair, I don't think is super unlikely, but it's not the guarantee I think people think it is. Um, like, you will lose your job no matter how good the next dude is. Um, but I kind of prefer Henderson, like just me personally. Um, I feel like on some level, I feel like he's more of a sure thing, right?
Yeah.
Granted, there's no such thing as a sure thing for real, but like Wembanyama, for example, there are concerns about him being too tall because like dudes that are as tall as him tend not to stay particularly healthy. Obviously, Henderson being a foot shorter uh, doesn't have that, and he's already, like you said, more or less exactly what you would want to see out of a point guard.
Yeah.
Um, that said, I also hope that like the Lakers go back to sucking so that the Pelicans can pick him up.
You're trying to make a super team. I like the way you think.
Because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like, they're kind of the consensus top two guys,
Yeah.
right? Henderson is considered the kind of talent that in just about any other draft, he's going number one. Um, and so kind of regardless of that fact, like it'll be fun to see how both of them pan out.
Yeah. And I like and dislike how the media is kind of pitting guys against each other in these draft classes. Like, I feel like Trae Young and Luka Doncic do not have a real relationship where they like see each other and talk to each other. I know they had that moment in the sophomore game last year, but I don't think they got each other's number. Well, they're doing a really good job of being like, hey, you know that move that happened there, like they were connected forever, and it's like, okay. And I think we're gonna have the same thing with Wembanyama and Scoot, even though I don't think those are gonna be two dudes that have anything to do with each other long term.
Right.
Always will be connected, but never are connected. Uh, let's go with number 3 for the Charlotte Hornets, and I really hope this happens. I really do, because there will be nothing more fun than making LaMelo Ball play off ball while having a 6'7" dude that runs the point guard with him in Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson is actually one of those prospects that broke my heart early on by going to Overtime Elite. I had just moved to Florida, and it was probably like a couple months before basketball season started, and he played in Miami along with his twin brother, and they both left like months before I got here. So I never really got to see them in person. But anytime you see them, it's like it would be a routine play for anybody else if they weren't who they are. In Amin, he gets all the playing time that you really need from a young point guard at Overtime Elite, even though I can't tell you what kind of actions they run whatsoever. It's like elite pickup ball over there, and I don't have an issue with it. I feel like you learn a lot from playing pickup ball, but that's kind of not what they do in the league. So that's going to be like a really interesting switch over for him. But if he can find some place with like another talented guard, I know LaMelo's not really a defender like that, but there's something to learning how to play off the ball. In considering how much time LaMelo has had in his career playing off the ball, I think two guys like this would work really well together. Plus, give them a defensive someone with the tools to be a defensive stopper at the next level. I doubt that'll happen though. Just considering what Charlotte does to players, I don't know what they do, but it's a weird situation over there.
I mean, it's Charlotte. They get they'll get a good player and like just kind of waste him out there for entirely too long.
Dude, but outside of Kemba, who else has been good for the Hornets?
Well, they used to be the Bobcats, so the answer is pretty much no one. But
who used to be good for the Bobcats? Gerald Wallace?
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing?
I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
And no disrespect to Gerald Wallace. Used to use him all the time in 2K. I'm just saying. That's the best your franchise got. Franchise probably wasn't that hot.
Well, of course. All right. So what about a SAR?
Yes. So they have Ausar at number 4 going to the San Antonio Spurs. One thing that I do not fully get about the Thompson twins is, as much as people say they have similar games, but don't think they have similar games. And then some people say they have similar athleticism, except Amin's just as Sam Vecini would say, like more of a quick twitch athlete. But Ausar's doing a lot of the same stuff. He's just not as dominant. He truly feels like the one who, when they get drafted and everything goes well, he's probably going to be the one who could have like a better career. Like the minute he comes into the league, I think he's going to have, especially if he goes to the Spurs, they're going to have a much better situation than that's going on with the Hornets. So Amin might rack up the highlights and all the pretty stuff. Ausar is going to be the one who's going to get the long-term coaching that he actually needs. Probably go to a place that it can help him get a jump shot. And at the bare minimum, Andre Roberson type dude. Just be athletic, rebound. And I'm selling him short. I mean, this is like, if all his other skills go away, at least he can play defensive rebound. And anytime you got somebody with this type of size and this type of athleticism, I'm voting on them being pretty good and not like an all-star or anything, just a really solid starter for like the next 10 to 12 years.
Okay, legit question.
Okay.
As I'm thinking about it, and this is just because I have not been fortunate enough to really see them go, are they as good as advertised?
They're as athletic as advertised. So I think one of the issues that I have in evaluating them, they've played together pretty much all this time. And in just about every situation, Amin is the point guard. Ausar is more of the off guard. There are times where I see Ausar with the ball in his hands where he does point guard stuff. So it makes me wonder, does he have a little bit more juice than what he's showing right now, just because of the role he's had to play pretty much all his life? And then when you ask everybody down here, like in Florida, or you see stuff come out from like their camp with like their parents and whatnot, if you classify them as a wing, somebody's probably going to get upset. There's like, no, these are just giant guards, which I don't fully believe in. Like, there's not a lot of 6'7" dudes that legitimately play point guard and are legitimately point guards. Just by sheer size alone, you automatically become more than that. And I think Ausar has kind of gained a lot of that. I know how to play off the ball type stuff outside of being able to shoot. And I'm pretty sure he'll figure that out whenever the jump shot comes through. Weird note, these boys is about to be 20. And I know that's not like old, but when we're talking about like high lottery picks, it feels old. I can't think of the last time we had like a 20-year-old go in the top 5.
Ja?
Ja was 20, huh? Yeah, outside of Ja.
Outside of Ja, I would have to look. I'm not sure.
I think Chet was a little old, but I don't know if Chet was 20.
No, I don't think he was 20 either.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and move on. Number 5, the Orlando Magic select Cam Whitmore. This is one of those that I would really like to happen, even though I have no idea how he fits in this team. Like Cam Whitmore would probably be the weirdest pick for Orlando Magic, just thinking about what they've done over the last 10 years draft wise. It's lone lanky dudes. And that's not what Cam Whitmore is. He's 6'6", 200 pounds. He's a I guess he's a dump truck. He's a big athletic dump truck that can run through you and legitimately shoot the three. Really high on Whitmore. I think if he had less injuries, we're probably talking. I know this isn't a giant move. He'd probably be number 4 over Ausar for me. I like what I see from dude. And I think a part of athleticism that goes undervalued is strength. And he's strong. Like he's grown man strong already, while still needing to iron out some of his game. And I think that's perfect for Buddy. Like, and I don't like the Magic fit too much, but it gives me the same type of energy that Paolo's getting, where he's just stronger than just about everybody he's facing in the league. And I see Whitmore having the same thing. I just don't know how he is going to fit whatsoever for the Magic.
I mean, I'm not sure how any of the Magic players fit together. So it's on brand.
You know, shout out to Jock Bond and that entire coaching staff over there, because they clearly know how to make these boys work in some way, shape, or fashion. All right. Next guy up is Anthony Black. And I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is really high for Anthony Black. I get that he's had some great moments this season. He's put up really good numbers early, show that he has a little bit of takeover ability. I don't think he shoots well enough. I don't think he handles well enough to be any type of primary or like lead guard at the next level. I think he's going to have to change those drastically for that to look. But I do think he's a great connector piece. He's 6'7", he's tough, he's athletic. He used to be a 4-star wide receiver commit before he was like, nah, I'm just going to hoop. So he has like all the size, the strength, the toughness that you would like in a wing player. Plus the passing just makes him a really interesting piece. Now, as far as taking him 6 overall, I think you could do better. No offense to Anthony Black or anybody. I loved watching him play at Capel over those last 3 years, and then playing with Duncanville. I just think the roles that he's played as, you can see a difference between when he's the first option and when he's the third option. You can put some really incredible dudes around Anthony Black, and he's still going to give you everything that you need. When you make him your number 1, you're asking him to do things he doesn't exactly do naturally. And it's kind of the reason why you're seeing some of the issues that he's having right now with Arkansas. the less talent that's around him, the more he has to work, and that's where you see some of those holes in his game. Outside of that, I think kid's good. I just did not expect for him to be a lottery pick, especially
So
not this early.
I think with his case, because while like I haven't watched as many Arkansas games as I had intended to prior to the season starting, I did watch some of their games when they like travel, like did like their travel games
Yeah.
overseas or whatever. Um, and well, what I will say is like I feel like right as far as you're concerned with him, we get into the whole thing of like people overvaluing right the tools that people show than necessarily what they can do. Also, it kind of sounded like you were describing uh, Lonzo Ball
Hmm.
when you were talking about him to me. Um, but like just statistically, I'm not quite sure how he's looked since the season has started. I know that right him and a lot of the other Arkansas players, when I got to see those handful of games right early in their time together as a team, didn't particularly wow me like I'd kind of assumed they would. Um, right, statistically, right, his three ball isn't great, but it's not awful. It's not unfixable. It's right at 33%, right, just a hair under, which isn't an amazing 3-point shot, but you can work with it. Um, that said, right, yes, he's averaging what 4 assists a game, right at, but 3 turnovers, which isn't quite what you would like to see. But like, okay, that brings up a question. In your opinion, right, how good is he at like processing and thinking through the game?
I think he's really good as long as you're not asking him to, like, if you're asking him to be the beginning, middle, and end of a play, you're asking a lot. If you're asking him to be the middle and maybe the end, or or shoot, if you're as long as you're asking him to be one, two of the three, he's really good at that. If you're asking him to be the whole thing, no. Like he can start your offense. He can initiate you with the pass. He can even set a screen for you. He can finish the ball. But if you ask him to do all three on the same play, you gotta be okay with what happens.
Okay. All right. So next up, we talk about Brandon Miller, a dude who has spent basically his entire year climbing up draft boards. Um, and a dude who uh I continue to feel like I just feel differently about him than other people, even though like I see the stats. I'm not stupid. Like I see the stats he puts up. He's had some absolutely wild scoring nights, right? Like the stuff where it's like his career is over and they're going through like the highlights, like just his entire like basketball career in like the public eye for real, and like they're talking about those games. Um, but right when I talk to you and like I watch him, like when I've gotten to watch a couple of his games, he's shown like he kind of still has some of the same issues like I felt like he had when I first watched him at the end of his junior year. Right? Like not really able to like get loose and kind of create his own shot. The handle is not awful, but like it's not amazing. Um but he's 6'9" and can shoot over the top of dudes. And like he can work if like he's already in the spot or like you make sure or like he does the work early.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure how I feel about him. Potentially, like they have him here going to the Raptors at number 7. Like it's definitely on brand for the Raptors at the moment. But like, correct me if I'm wrong. He's not the only dude like that on the Raptors. Well, give or take some defense, I guess. I'm not sure how do you feel about his defense? Because it exists to me.
I'll be honest with you. 6'9", if you're decently strong, as long as you're not stupid or lazy, you should be a good defender, or at least a solid one.
If you say so.
Yeah. So I'm not I'm not worried about his defense. I think he's going to be a good enough scorer where for somebody that's the third or fourth option, you can be a bit lazy on defense. Not super bad. And I think you're going to be looking at a different type of defensive player when he gets to the NBA. Alabama is the Brandon Miller show so far.
Mm-hmm.
He has to do as much as possible on the offensive end to keep them alive. Defensively, I'm kind of okay with you being shoddy when you were the number one option.
Right.
The Raptors are not going to give him that option. Like, everybody on the Raptors can play some sort of defense. And I think the way they play defense as a team is going to be perfect for Buddy. He's 6'9", not crazy long. But when you got a dude like Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam in the front court with you, it's okay to be the dude with who's 6'9" with a 6'9" wingspan. You got some people that can kind of look out for you. But Brandon Miller is one of those people who is slotted much higher than I thought he would be after watching him the last couple years. Does struggle to create a shot a little bit. But when you're 6'9", I don't think we really have an issue. At the worst, at the absolute worst, I think we're looking at a Tobias Harris type of guy.
Okay.
You ask him to get 20, he gonna get you 15. You ask him to get 10, he gonna get 15. Like, I think this is the type of dude that we're looking at here with adequate, maybe positive defense. Like, I saw some people compare him to John Wall. I'm not John Wall, but Paul George. I don't see that. I don't see that at all for Brandon Miller. Like, part of the reason why I like Paul George's game is because of how smooth he is with the ball. And I don't really see that with Brandon Miller right now. Could he turn into it eventually? Sure, why not? Paul George took a minute to become an offensive dynamo, but their play styles are so different right now.
Okay. All right. Next up, Nick Smith, another kid playing for Arkansas. He's been hurt though.
He has. I saw Nick Smith live at last year's City of Palms. Elite, difficult shot maker. I do not see what people see in the athleticism. He's solid. Like, he's not going to posterize nobody. He's more likely to make a really crafty or tough layup than dunk on you. But he gets to his spots really well. He's quick, solid ball handler. I would put him more as like a scoring guard than I would as like a point guard or anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I throw this comparison around often, especially for dudes that can really create in the mid range. But he gives me Lou Will vibes. Like, he can just go be a bucket. I don't know what he gives you on the defensive end. I haven't really seen enough of that on the college level. Shoot, I didn't see enough of that from the high school level. Like, I thought with his quickness, he'd at least be a dude that's 3-4 steals a game. I don't think I watched a game where he had more than 3. I'm not as high on Nick Smith as most people are. Like not even in college. Like at some point he became like the #1 overall prospect. I think there's other dudes that could fit the bill a little bit better. But one thing I am seeing, especially with the high school scouts, they lean towards a guard that can really score. And Nick Smith can do that. Just not well enough for me to be like, oh, this is a done deal.
Okay. So at the moment, also not really sure how to feel about him, right? The handful of games he's played at Arkansas against, the D1 competition, he's scored, but it hasn't been what anybody would consider efficient. But presumably kind of working back from injury. When so I'm also not entirely sure how the defense holds up, but I've seen what little I've been fortunate enough to see of him would suggest that like the potential at least is there for him to be a solid defender. Whether or not he can be one consistently is, especially right when we get to like the NBA level, is a separate question that I don't have good answers for at the moment. But like I like him. I'm not sure if I like him as much as like some dudes we're gonna talk about, like that I know are coming up further down here. But like I think he's a good player. I get why, particularly like you said, because he's kind of crafty, why an injury wouldn't like immediately like tank his draft stock. But he's it kind of remains to be seen how good he can consistently be. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'll be real with you. I'm out. If I was a GM, I'd be like, I'll just get burnt on the back end. But our next guy up is somebody who I thought would be much higher at this point, especially after what he did at IMG his senior year, and that's Jarace Walker. Jarace Walker has been 6'8", 240 pounds since he was an 8th grader. Like that is a grown man who has grown man strength because he's had to carry a grown man body for the past 5 years. And I'm glad that everybody else is kind of like catching up on Buddy. They went number 9 puts him in there with the Magic, and this is another dude who I'm kind of like this. It makes a little bit more sense, but it's also kind of like I have no idea how this is actually going to work.
Okay,
he can do. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to finish?
No, keep going.
Okay. So everybody, this is a player that both me and Alan like a lot. He's one of my favorite players in this upcoming draft, and he's playing for one of my favorite coaches in college basketball. Like a perfect fit. Like Walker clearly loves playing defense, and he is very, very good at it, playing for a defensive-minded coach. On top of that, as of late, he's really beginning to kind of come into his own on the offensive side of the ball, right? That athleticism, some of the flashes and stuff we got to see at IMG really seems to be beginning to kind of come together. He is a player that, if I'm completely honest, I would take over a number of dudes currently slotted ahead of him.
Like who?
Smith. Honestly, I like him more than Miller. Like, which is probably, I like him more than Black. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about Whitmore. And when I'm not sure about a dude, I take the dude I'm sure about over them, just because like I know that it's like I know I like you and you can go. I'm not gonna say the Thompsons just because I haven't seen them play. But like he has the potential to be, in my opinion, he has the potential to be a very high level 2-way player. Right? worst case scenario, he is the best defender on a very good team. Right? He will be big enough and athletic enough to guard all 5 positions. And like I think he will, if he's not there now, he'll become good enough to like not just like guard them, but play like lockdown defense. On whoever you put him up against. Like he will be one of those dudes whose job is to guard the best player on the other team night in and night out.
Yeah.
And I love good defense. This should be a known fact at this point. And he plays amazing defense. And I in general have more confidence in good defensive players to figure out offense than I have in good offensive players to figure out defense, like as a group.
Yeah.
So like I would feel he is more of a sure thing than some of the other dudes we've talked about who are like, we're not sure the defense is quite there or whatever. Like he's gonna be one of the. I feel like he's gonna be a dude who might get drafted lower than he should, and then like people are gonna see him and it's just like, oh, he's a steal, and it's just like folks just weren't paying attention. Folks fell in love with the offensive potential of other players a bit more, like relative to him, a bit more than they probably should have, right? Like how I see people talking about Jalen Duren. Now it's like, oh, why did he go so low? He went so low because like y'all weren't paying attention.
But I think the 2 biggest things that are hindering draft prospects from going where they actually should. One, we put too much weight on your ability to score, where 9 times out of 10, if you go to the league, your job isn't to score. So it doesn't really matter how much offensive potential you have. The second one, let me not say we, because I don't have a GM job. The NBA tends to like run away from either tweeners or like pure bigs, where like there's probably not going to be much upside of you shooting, but it doesn't matter, especially with a dude like Walker. Like he's one of those people who he reminds me of a 6'8" PJ Tucker. Think about it. What does PJ Tucker do well?
Corner threes and defense.
I think at some point Walker is going to be an league average 3-point shooter from the corner. And unlike PJ Tucker, he's going to legitimately be able to guard 3 to 4 positions while being 6'8".
In PJ Tucker's defense, he was able to cook a little bit offensively at one point in his career. It's been a while.
Exactly. But he was doing that as a 6'5" power forward. Jarace Walker is 6'8". I don't think people are like this is an NFL defensive end who decided to play basketball. We should be really excited for what he can do defensively.
Like, I think also, like, the thing is, though, I feel, granted, I like him a lot. And so, like, keeping in mind my biases, because he ticks a lot of those boxes. But, like, it's just, like, I feel like, well, the thing is, right, he's currently considered a power forward. But, like, if he becomes as good on offense as, like, I think he has the potential to be, which, to be fair, I'm not quite sure that's number one option. Like, I'm not sure he'll ever be, like, the number one option. But, like, it won't matter that much because he's the go. Like, he's the dude you call up when you need to get a defensive stop. And, like, I think he could probably be, like, a solid second option on offense. But, like, he's, like, he'd be good enough, like, you know how the league does players, right? like if a power forward is good enough, he becomes if power forward or a shooting guard is good enough, they become a 3.
Yeah.
In the league. I think he will spend a lot of his career in the league as a 3, more so than a 4. We'll see.
I can see a 3 on defense. I don't think the handle's going to be there for him to like be doing dribble moves. Like if I see this man do an in and out crossover at some point during his career, and like an ISO, I'm like, you sure,
like,
buddy?
does he need handles like that though? Like every 3 is not tasked with handling the ball.
Okay, if you're talking about him being like a standstill shooter, yes.
Like
now, if you think this man about to take 2 dribbles and get to a shot,
like high level cutter, right? As he like figures out offense, becomes a smarter offensive player, he'll be like when he recognizes the situation, he'll be like I definitely think he'll be fast enough, quick enough to blow by other dudes his size without too much issue. I have to look more. I'm not sure how much of a post game he'll ever get, just the nature of the league, if nothing else. But he'll be, athletic enough, strong enough to at least take advantage of the mismatches when they arise. I have no idea why no, that's a lie. I know why the Magic should pick him up, because they just need good players. And at some point to just figure out what they're trying to do with their roster. But I don't know. I'd like to see him somewhere else beside the Magic. Like almost anywhere else, just because I'm not because I think the Magic is an awful team to be at, but I just have no idea what they're trying to do, and I'm not sure they know either. Like they're just like, we're just gonna pile up talent and figure it out later.
They haven't known since Dwight left almost 10 plus years ago, so it is what it is with them at this point.
I was trying to be nice.
Hey, look, as a fan of a poverty-stricken franchise, one thing they could do is they make magic. I'll go with that. They put an entertaining product on the court. Been that way for years. It's weird. Let's go ahead and move over to the number 10 pick with New Orleans Pelicans and the Dallas native, Cason Wallace. I want to be real with you guys. In 2018, when I saw Cason Wallace for the first time, if you told me there's a chance that this is going to be a first round pick, just based off of the game that I saw of him early as a high school player, I would not have believed you. But looking at a 6'4" combo guard who's strong as ever, and his calling card is defense. I think I said this once earlier when we initially talked about the 2022 class. If there is a Marcus Smart clone roaming around these streets, is him. He's tough. He's gonna go at you the entire game on defense. The only freshman to stay on the court during that Michigan State double overtime game, and there's a reason. Dude was really smart. I saw some people say Drew Holiday level defense. Drew Holiday is like one of those defensive gods that I don't even mind like comparing people to. Marcus Smart, on the other hand, I get it. One defensive player of the year. He is somebody that can play that role and probably already has him in his back pocket as a mentor type guy. Kentucky, again, is one of those places where I feel like if you really want to shine, don't go to Kentucky. If you want to know how to play a role, go to Kentucky. I'm not sure what that role will be for some players. You kind of have to bring your own skill set in for that. But I like Cason. Don't know if I like Cason this high for what I think he could give you in the league. Like the offense just isn't really there. But if we can get him to like 10 to 12 points and he's guarding one of your best perimeter defenders, it don't really matter.
Okay. Not too. I don't have a whole lot to say about him. He's like the thing is he clearly checks a lot of boxes that people like. Right. Currently shooting 40% from deep on the year. Right off. Decent volume. About 4.5 shots a game. Right. 2 steals. Like outside of free throw shooting, which he's a surprisingly poor free throw shooter given the 3-point shooting numbers. He's like it looks like a lot of what he does should be able to translate.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. We'll we'll go ahead and knock out these next couple guys pretty quick. Number 11, we got Keontae George. Guys, if you've been following this podcast for any amount of time, you know my love for Keontae George. Pretty much any knock that I had against him at some point in college, well, throughout his high school career, he has completely flipped it on his head. I thought he was a bit selfish. He's not. He knows how to pass the ball. He knows how to get his teammates involved. I didn't think he always had the best attitude on the court. And I think that was more situational. I think he was frustrated by the level of talent that was around him. His early years in college, I did not see that at all at IMG. He looked really happy at IMG. He looks really happy with Baylor. He's smiling all over the court. And I didn't think he would be able to play off ball as well as he does. But I guess when you're a jump shooter, it tends to translate over there with you. Plus, he's showing that he does have a little bit of point guard skills. But if there is one person in this draft class who's like stuck in between positions, it is definitely Keontae George. And I don't think that matters in the league anymore. As long as you can score and you can initiate a little bit of offense, you're not going to have an issue at all. I see some people saying they think he's going to switch more over to the point guard position. I don't fully see why you would want to do that. I told you I use this one often. He could do Lou Will things. Instant offense dude that can also run a little bit of point. I think it's kind of easy.
Right, obviously he's at Baylor at this point. I remember he says I wasn't sure about his defense when the couple times I got to see him in high school, but like it's Baylor. They don't let you play bad defense. But I think that the thing with like the point guard thing is right, like why every dude who's kind of an undersized 2 guard, they're like, oh, I think he's going to transition to point, is because like 6'4" is a better height for a point guard than it is for a 2. Like it's, in fairness, I think that on some level, height stuff is a bit overblown, like a little overvalued. But like you said, like I'm not really sure why you would move him to the like he's never given me like point guard vibes. Like it's not a knock. It's just like I don't think he thinks about the game. Like he just doesn't process the game like that.
Yeah. Look, he's like most kids his age. Bucket. I'm just going to go get this bucket, and occasionally there's a play to be made in between getting this bucket. Number 12 for the Portland Trail Blazers. Shout out to Percy. I know you would absolutely love this dude, even though you have no idea who he is right now. But we talking about Grady Big Bad. Yeah, that's the nickname I'm giving him. Big Bad Dick. I had to, bro. Oh, but no. Big Bad is one of my favorite players in this draft, yo. I'm not gonna lie to you. When you combine a little bit of athleticism, 6'8", and shooter, I'm kind of in there. Like I keep hearing people say they're gonna pick on him on defense. Yeah, they're gonna pick on him on defense. They pick on everybody on defense. They usually find the weakest link on the team and go after that person. That either means you're small or not very athletic. Where
It
things
could
look
also just
different.
mean you're just the worst defender on the floor.
True, true. Let's
Fairness, I
say
don't mean you're bad. It's just like
other people are better than you.
Yeah.
Look, and there's going to be a chance that that's the case for Grady Dick. Unlike most of the people who we know are just bad defenders, he can move his feet a little bit, and he's 6'8". This isn't going to be a walk in the park for you to just take advantage of this dude. Pretty sure they're already doing it, but it's usually the best scorer taking advantage of this particular person. I do not think you're going to be the third option and look at Grady Dick in his face and be like, "Yeah, no, boy, this is lunch money." Like, no offense to JJ Redick, he's not JJ Redick. He's bigger, more athletic than JJ Redick. I got a lot of hope in Grady Dick. Like this is the one.
All right. So I also like him a lot, right? This is another one we agree on a fair bit. And like something you've mentioned off the podcast, it's nice, right, when like you were like, oh, this player is good, and like you get to see other people realize, oh, he can actually he can actually go. And right, that's kind of been the case with Grady Dick, is he's also begun to move up like draft boards, right? He's also another dude like Walker who I would take it, like just me, like I would take over various other players. One of the advantages of like him in particular is like when picking him is like he's the kind of player who should be able to fit and have a clear role pretty much wherever he lands. Um, right, he's a high level 3-point shooter. Um, plays Has played surprisingly solid defense since he's been at Kansas. Moves well off the ball. Um, I feel like he's a player where, at least as he exists, right? It's always possible that dudes become different players when they get into the league, but he projects at the moment to be the kind of dude where even if you look up and he has first option level talent, the skill set is still kind of like this, like the second option. Like he would benefit from a dude to play off of. But where, right, as part of a duo, like you're not really gonna have answers for him. Right, the effort is there. The athleticism is there, and like I've seen folks be like, "Oh, he's a sneaky athlete." Like it's not sneaky. He only really uses it like every 3 games.
If he's not a sneaky athlete, you're just being discriminatory because he's white. Like there were I can think of 3 players right now at the high school level that people consider sneaky athletes, and it's not sneaky at all. You just don't expect it because of the way they look. And I feel like that's what I've been hearing this entire season about Grady Dick. He's not a great athlete. Most people aren't great athletes, but anytime you jump outside of the lane and you finish on the other side of the backboard for a reverse layup and you're still in the air, you're kind of a good athlete. Like I don't.
He's as good as an athlete as just about anybody in the class.
Like he might be an average to below average NBA athlete
at worst. Like the thing. So if I was gonna be like, oh, criticisms and whatever, like his handle. I don't think his handle is great, though. Like it's like I think it's probably improved. Right. It's not great, and the all too common refrain that like applies to just about everybody we've mentioned to this point except Walker, right? He needs to add, weight and strength, but like most dudes coming out of college need to put on some weight. Like I don't consider that a serious concern unless you're like built like Chet Holmgren, which was an unnecessary shot fired, but like you get the point I'm trying to make.
Not an unnecessary shot fired. We all know how small that kid was. Yes.
But like Grady Dick is gonna be, I think he's gonna be a really good player. Actually, Portland could use a dude like him right now.
Especially with all those young guards they got. Like you pick whichever one that you really want to be your primary, and then you have that monster just in the wings. Yeah, I don't
like if he can get working his way into a starting role, he's gonna eat all season long, like his rookie year.
Yeah. He is also going to be snack time for a lot of NBA players.
Well, yeah. But at least he can get better on defense.
I mean, honestly, I think you can say that about just about everybody that plays for Portland right now. And most of them boys is lunch money at this point. Yeah, let's move on to something a little less depressing. The Utah Jazz. Are the Utah Jazz? Are they not a playoff team no more?
Let me look. I think they haven't been as successful since people updated the scouting report. But let me double check because I haven't kept up too much other than like Conley and I think a couple other dudes have been in trade rumors.
Yeah.
Like they're sitting on the like they'd be the last team in the play-in at the moment.
Got you. Okay. So for the Utah Jazz, they would come in at number 13. They would pick up Jett Howard, who I like and did not expect to become a first-round draft pick this soon. Watching him at IMG, big, pretty athletic scoring guard. He's not going to blow you away athleticism, but we're talking about an average to below average NBA athlete. A dude that can score just about at all three levels pretty proficiently every night. Michigan kind of gave him the offense early and was like, run with it. And I'm not mad because I would love to go play for my father too and still kind of be the man. Or actually, this is outside of being that, even when he was at university school, he wasn't the man because they had other people over him. But seeing the full offensive repertoire is really nice. Just did not expect for him to jump up this high this soon. Thought he was really going to be like a 2-year guy.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about him, but again, he's one of those dudes who, for a lot of people, like he ticks the boxes that a lot of people have, right? Fairly efficient, right? Good 3-point shooter, big. He's a very confident player.
Yeah.
And it's not totally unwarranted. Like I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him, right? He's a big, like at the moment he's a big part of their offense, right? But also Michigan hasn't been that great this year.
Yeah.
But like we'll see how it pans out ultimately.
And Jett Howard got some of that that hot head in him. Yeah. Like I've seen him like celebrate after doing something where it's kind of like, ooh, boy, you should get a technical. But they're not gonna give you a technical. But You know, you in a normal high school game, that's a tech, my boy.
It's
All
a
right,
good thing he's not in high school no more, then, isn't it?
bro. This was in high school. I want to
Oh.
say when I saw him at City of Palms, like he made like I want to say it was the championship game. He made like 3 back-to-back buckets, and after
Mhm.
each bucket, he was coming back cussing, like not foaming at the mouth, but you know when you get like really excited and that little spit come out, it's like, oh, you fiery. It's like, can you fight though? I'm not asking if you're trying to fight. I just want to know, can you fight? Because the way you acted, you might need to learn how to fight. All right. And at the end of the lottery is going to be Maxwell Lewis. I don't know nothing about Maxwell Lewis. The only
Okay,
thing I can
so
say. Mhm.
he's okay. So first off, let's get this one out of the way. Pepperdine is not what you would call good at the moment. That said, he got like the numbers. I don't know what the eye test looks like. I haven't watched Pepperdine basketball, but like his numbers look good. Right after a solid freshman year, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Right, averaging 18.7 per game points per game. Right at 6 rebounds, 2.7 assists. Right off 50% shooting, 40% from deep. Right, he's got good size. It's 6'7". Not the heaviest dude, like not the biggest dude in the world, but that's fine. Um, Also not the first mid-major player like we've seen have good years and then go on to solid basketball career, like solid NBA careers.
Yeah.
Um, but the whole thing that can. This is another thing I feel is a little overblown. They talk about like the level of competition you play at. Even though like it it doesn't quite matter like that when projecting to the NBA. Like it matters, but it like doesn't. Like if you can go against the best players, you can go against the best players. But um he kind of fits the bill of like the prototypical dude you would like NBA scouts look for, right? The size, 3-point shooting. Right? And like being an efficient scorer. Um and he'll be projected to go to, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Bro, I
I
hate
don't like
Golden State.
this.
I absolutely, bro. This is I think outside of the Spurs, this is the only team that I can think of that has pretty much stood the test of time for almost 10 years. I guess 10 years is going a little far, but it's almost been 10 years. It's been at least 7.
But I will say it's like I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about their player development on the whole, like the Warriors. But like if like he goes to the Warriors, like just hypothetically, if he goes to the Warriors, right, and like becomes one of those guys, I'm gonna be absolutely sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm not sure what to say about Golden State as of yet because they're still pretty much in that first phase of we still have our superstars. And it doesn't look like any of those younger guys that they drafted are even ready to make like a contribution.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like they got 3 more years with their big 3, where their big 3 is still like somewhat formidable. And hopefully the boys can catch up in them 3 years. But it's not fair. It's not fair. But we about to get into a whole new podcast if we start complaining about the Golden State Warriors. So we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us.
Okay, we were just gonna do the The lottery players, or like we're already at a decent time, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And nobody cares about anybody after the lottery anyway. At least not in January. So we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of the Traveling Hoopers. I have been your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr., and in front of me is my best friend in the world, Calvin McGowan, and he's going to go ahead and sign us out.
Once again, everybody, thank you for sticking with us here to the end. If you're joining us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave something in the comments. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Enjoy the rest of your week while I sit here for a moment and am kind of stunned at who they have going outside the lottery.
Yeah. Yeah.